What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Steelers Breakdown with Nick Farabaugh here, and I'm here with a very special guest, Cory Kinnan from Daft on Draft. If you guys know Cory, he was here talking a little bit about the 2026 quarterback class, Aaron Rodgers. He has great film work. If you are any bit interested in the 2026 NFL Draft, and you should be, because the Steelers are probably going to be in that quarterback class and scouring it, Cory is, in my opinion, one of the best follows and doing it right now. But also a Browns fan, so it works out well enough. Cory, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Again, we'll get through this NFL season as it comes, especially in Cleveland. But I'm happy to be here, man. Happy to be here.
Yeah, Cleveland has had it's been an interesting 5 weeks up there in Berea right now. Dale Gabriel now entering his second start. Actually, first start against Flores' scheme didn't look terrible. He didn't look completely out of place. There were some positives there. They lose on a late touchdown to Carson Wentz and company. Talk to me about this offense. Obviously, it was bad under Joe Flacco. That's why they benched him and now have traded him to the Bengals. Gabriel, at least processing wise, and where you think this offense stands with Gabriel versus where it stood with Flacco.
Yeah, the ball's coming out a lot quicker, and so I can appreciate that. The passing attack is still just well below average, just like bottom two in the league, maybe bottom one in the league. Fortunately for the Browns is that Quinshon Judkins has been a bell cow and has been a workhorse, so that's allowed them to take a lot of pressure off. I mean, he rushed for over 100 yards in London. He's been an immediate factor ever since he came in, and especially after missing all of training camp and week one of practice. Like it's honestly been kind of incredible how he's been able to hit the ground running. But yeah, the passing attack is it's brutal in just about every aspect. They can't pass protect. The receivers are dropping footballs like crazy, and then again, I like the way that Gabriel processes. I like his ability to get the ball out on time. The accuracy was a bit wayward, especially when trying to drive the football, push the football a little bit. So that's something to keep an eye on. But in terms of like, if the Browns can come up with a game plan, which they have done against the Steelers with DTR, which they have done with Joe Flacco in 2023, and just like say, hey man, keep us in this game and stay on this game plan, I think Gabriel can do it. It's when you get backed up into those third and longs, you have to make him step up and throw. Is when it's going to start getting a little iffy. All in like again, all aspects. Pass protection is Jerry Jeudy going to catch the football if he does get an open target over the middle of the field? Like, is Gabriel going to throw the football? Like, because there was a couple, especially along the boundary, where he airmailed, like just airmailed. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, the Steelers been a little different schematically. I mean, they're still obviously going to be your single high team, cover three, cover one, but a lot more blitz heavy this year. So that's an interesting kind of wrinkle in this. They, depending on where you look, they're between first and fourth in blitz rate. So they've sent a lot of heat this year. How do you think the Browns handled that part of this? Because TJ Watt's been getting chipped and then
Mm-hmm.
kind of doubled, and they're kind of using that to get Patrick Queen and other guys free on these blitzes. Alex Highsmith will be back now, so they have their whole trio of outside linebackers to utilize. Herbig's just been awesome all
Mm-hmm.
year. Nick Herbig has been. But how do you think this Steelers front matches up against this? What is an aging offensive line? Cam
Mm-hmm.
Robinson maybe is going to step in there at left tackle. Conklin's been hurt, but he's back. We'll see where things go. But how do you think they handle this blitz heavy approach and then just this defensive line the Steelers boast in general?
Yeah, so what I will say for the Browns offense is that they're best in 12 personnel, and they have the most success in 12 personnel, both running and throwing the football. One, again, because they don't have a lot of wide receiver depth. Again, Cedric Tillman's on IR. Jerry Jeudy is having a very difficult time catching the football. Isaiah Bond has honestly been their best receiver over the last 2 weeks, which is not a place you want to be for an NFL passing attack. So again, they're just relying a lot on David Njoku and a lot on Harold Fannin. So they're just going to throw 12 out there, and so I think they're okay a lot of times in that regard because I don't know if you've seen David Njoku recently, but he is a very big man these days. He is not the same size that he was in 2022, 2023. And that's because the Browns have asked him to bulk up because they know he's going to be in pass pro chipping responsibilities more often than not, which is unfortunate because of the weapon that he has been in the passing attack. So I think the Browns are going to hang out in 12 personnel a lot again. And I think that's going to help. Again, you'll still see the chips on TJ Watt. We'll see if anybody else can get pressure opposite of TJ Watt. There is a fly in my office, and it's really bugging me, and I apologize for that. But my office is in the basement of my house. So, so we'll see about that. But I do think the benefit of having two good rookie or good tight ends, again, David Njoku, and what they're getting out of Harold Fannin right now is more than they could have expected out of a top, the third round pick coming right to the league out of Bowling Green, right? So like that is to the advantage of the Browns. And I would expect them to kind of stay in that. So we'll see. Again, the pass pro's been bad, so uh, the Steelers are going to get theirs.
Yeah, and the Steelers have. I mean, Herbig has been just uber productive opposite of Watt. Highsmith has been productive when he's played. All three of them are finally going to play together. They had them for 10 snaps. They've been talking a lot about this three outside linebacker package, and I think that might be something they try to roll out over the interior, trying to get away from those chips of Njoku and Fannin and those
Mm-hmm.
guys. So we'll see how that kind of rolls out. So you'd mentioned Quinshon Judkins earlier, and this has been kind of the topic of the week because Mike Tomlin just heaped praise on Quinshon Judkins. And basically, I mean, he basically compared the man to Nick Chubb in a lot of ways and just the impact he has and kind of the way you game plan for him. What has been what have they used to get him loose? Has he been good on zone? Has he been good on gap?
Mm-hmm.
Is it everything? And what has made Judkins kind of this breakout star right away in Cleveland?
Yeah, I think he's just, when looking at the running backs that they've played since the injury to Chubb, Jerome Ford, Pierre Strong, guys like that. It's just like it's not hard to be at another level than those guys, and especially like he's just a more decisive runner than Jerome Ford, and he's a hard runner. So again, the blocking isn't spectacular. It's not spectacular. Um, but he runs through arm tackles well, and he runs through contact well, and so that's really to the advantage of Judkins. I would be interested to think if like what are his yards through contact? Like how many yards is he averaging before that initial contact? Things like that, because I bet that those statistics aren't pretty. But like, and the way he runs, honestly, it reminds me of like Isaiah Pacheco in Kansas City. Like he just like his feet are really heavy. Like how when Pacheco runs, it just always looks like he's stampeding. Like he's always stampeding, and it's kind of the same with Judkins. But he's a really decisive runner, and I think when you don't have great blocking in front of you, what you can do is just put your freaking head down and but that's to say that's not to say as well. Like I mean, he was biting off 10-yard runs against the Vikings this past weekend. The week before that, I think it was a little heavy on that one big run he had against Detroit. But outside of that, like I think he's just a workhorse. So he's just gonna create because he kind of has to right now.
Not surprised Mike Tomlin likes Quinshon Judkins. He's a very Steelersy player, even though he's not a
Mm-hmm.
Steeler. He is a very Steelers running back in a lot of ways. But okay, let's flip to the other side of the football now. This Browns defense has been pretty darn good. One of the best units in football right now. Let's start up front. Myles Garrett needs no endorsement from me. Everyone knows what Myles Garrett does and how much impact he has. And even if you double team Chip and triple team him, he still somehow gets pressure.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like the big difference this year, Corey, has been the ability for others to take advantage of the attention Myles Garrett gets. Alex Wright, Isaiah McGuire, Mason Graham, Malik Collins. It's a pretty deep group that has
Yeah.
had the ability to get after the passer. So, talk to me about kind of this Browns front and what has happened that has allowed them to become pretty prolific this year outside of just Myles Garrett.
I mean, they're quick, fast, strong, and I think that's the way that Jim Schwartz wants his defensive linemen. There are a lot of I think downfalls to the philosophy of like where Jim Schwartz says, I just want four down and we're just going to shoot gaps. There's no two gapping. There's no putting a nose on the field in obvious run situations. He's gonna put four on the field and he's gonna shoot gaps, unless it's obvious like short yardage goal line, right? But like, and he's going to say, well, my second level is going to correct behind me. And for the most part, they have, because Carson Sweshing has been playing out of his mind as a rookie. So like that's been also really helpful. But Jim Schwartz wants them to play quick and fast, and they're playing quick and fast. I mean, Malik Collins, in his 30s is having the best season of his career. Like he's playing some unbelievable football. Mason Graham is getting better every week, and then opposite Myles, they're rotating Isaiah McGuire and Alex Wright, two bigger ends, and they're both playing really well as well. So I think they've built this out pretty well, the ideal situation. And that's to say that like even Mike Hall, their second round pick from a year ago, also another one of those twitchy, explosive pass rushers, hasn't played this year yet either, coming off of offseason knee surgery. So they're just a unit, and then the undrafted free agent Aiden Huntington as well. Like he's been getting pass rush snaps and he's been making an impact. He had a big sack against the Packers, so like they just go after these. That's their prototype, especially along the interiors. Like they just want athletes. They just want athletes who can explode off the ball and get after the quarterback, and they're all doing their job. I don't know if there's any more signs to it than other than just like they're just tough to get hands on, man. They're just tough to get hands on.
And you look at the Steelers O line and young, but Broderick Jones against Miles Garrett. That one feels. What in the world? If you were the Steelers and you were looking at
Yeah.
how you would attack this front, what would you do if you're the Steelers? Because I feel like Faltona's been decent and McCormick,
Mm-hmm.
Frazier have been fine. Say Amalo and Jones. The left side of the Steelers line has been
Mm-hmm.
an adventure. I'll say that.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I think we're probably going to see a lot of Darnell Washington, right?
Yep,
Would
probably.
be my guess there. Which again stinks because like yes, Darnell Washington can catch the football, and that's to an advantage, especially in the goal line. If you're going to get the Browns to bite on play action, and he is in there to protect most of the time, he's probably going to catch a pop for a touchdown. Like if I'm going to put a prop bet on something happening, it's probably going to be Darnell catching a pop for a touchdown in the goal line area. But I think we're going to see the 300-pound tight end probably helping out quite a bit. But that's just to say as well that Miles Garrett's going to get his, and it's just like the thing you live by and you die by. But again, Aaron Rodgers isn't doing anything more than throwing 3 yards in a cloud of dust right now. So I just think the ball's going to come out fast. I think that's the way you combat it is you hit the back foot, get the ball out, and that's what Aaron Rodgers has been doing all season. So that's my best guess is just it's a lot of quick game and have Darnell Washington frequently on the field.
So to your point, it's interesting. This Steelers offense, the formula is insane. 71% of the yards after the catch for Aaron Rodgers right now. 71% of his yards are after the catch. It's the highest
Mm-hmm.
amount in the NFL. He's got the quickest time to throw. He has the lowest A dot, average depth of target. It's working though. DK Metcalf, Kenneth Gainwell, and Jalen Warren have been the three guys they've utilized in that respect. A little bit of Jonnu Smith, and voila, it has actually worked pretty well for them so far. How do you think the Browns work against that? I felt like initially when I was going to watch this kind of tape, I was saying Denzel Ward's there.
Mm-hmm.
There's ingredients here for I think the Browns to slow down a quick passing attack. But to be quite honest with you, it's been kind of fascinating. No one has really done it yet. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say the Browns play a lot of press, and they're going to play a lot of press. Either press bail 3 or press 1, press 0, like just straight up man to man. And so that's gonna cause Rodgers to hitch a little bit, and maybe that's enough time for this defensive line to get a little more pressure than Aaron Rodgers has seen this season, just by taking away any cushion off the line of scrimmage. But that's also to say that I realize that Calvin Austin has been playing really well over the middle of the field, and the Browns don't have a verifiable nickel. Martin Emerson Jr. went down, and that forced Greg Newsome to play outside full time, and he was their nickel. And now they traded Greg Newsome for Tyson Campbell playing on the opposite Denzel Ward now, and in the nickel it's been Cam Mitchell who's now waived, and Miles Harden, a 7th round pick from last year. So it's just like they're really struggling to find for a team that plays nickel 75% of the time that third defensive back that they can really trust to keep the football in front of them. And so that's my biggest concern is if you line up DK in the slot or just Miles or Calvin Austin doing exactly what Calvin Austin was doing this year. I think that's going to be an area of glaring weakness because we're talking Grant Delpit, Ronnie Hickman, Miles Harden, and again I love Grant Delpit. I don't want him man to man up on anybody in the slot. So like we're that's what concerns me. But I do think the Browns is just innate aggressive nature of playing press and going for it is interesting. I will say that in the past, bigger body receivers have also gotten the better of Browns corners down the field. So the way you combat that is if you want to press me, I'll just throw a 9 up to DK Metcalf and see if he can just outleap a Browns corner. But again, Martin Emerson Jr. isn't here anymore. Greg Newsome II isn't here anymore. So, Tyson Campbell has had his woes at the catch point, though. So we will see how that translates. So, yeah.
We'll see. Calvin Austin has not practiced the last 2 days. Very steeply could be a pretty significant loss for the Steelers, which would mean Scotty Miller probably. So
Mm-hmm.
Scotty Miller and Roman Wilson,
Another
those two
Bowling Green
guys.
legend, yeah.
Right. Rowan Wilson really hasn't been utilized a lot, so maybe those crossing routes that he's known for could be something that the Steelers utilize this week. We'll see. I actually expect the Steelers to play a lot of 12 personnel. Jonnu and Pat Fryermuth have kind of been the stories of this week, and it's been the talk of what is going on. And I think they're going to try and get them involved. So we'll see what happens. The other question I have for you is the Steelers' jumbo tight end package has been something that has really been effective for them. They have, I tweeted this out on Thursday, which is today when we're recording this, and Corey, they are averaging a 75% success rate. They're 6 of 6 for 57 yards. They're averaging over 5 yards per carry. They have just been really good. It's basically 7-0 linemen because they bring Spencer Anderson on, and then they have Darnell in there. On top of that,
Mm-hmm.
how do you think this Browns team is equipped to kind of handle a package like that and just handle the run game in general? The Steelers seemingly have started to kind of find a little bit of footing here on the ground.
Yeah, I would say that the Browns have safeties who are good at fitting the run. Like I think that's a strength of both Ronnie Hickman and Grant Delpit is fitting the run. And I would also say again, Carson Schwessinger at the second level is very disciplined with his eyes. So again, where that jumbo package can get you. And again, I said earlier in this episode, like, I'll take a prop bet that Darnell Washington's going to catch a pop passes. You're trying to get the defense at that second level specifically to sell out like they're running the football. Like they're bringing all these to get them to sell out and then just sneak a throw over their head. I think that again, that's the way that you do it. But the Browns have veterans at that second outside of Schwessinger, who's playing like a 5-year pro, 6-year pro. They have Jerome Baker, who is a veteran and has had a second contract with the Dolphins and has had success at the NFL level, starting at will for them. And Devin Bush is kind of
Right.
experiencing a little bit of a resurgence in Cleveland this year, playing specifically Sam. So like he's not an every down linebacker, right? He's not playing Mike. He's not that man in the middle, but like as a Sam, like Devin Bush has always been a hard hitter. Devin Bush has always been a strong person at the point of contact. So they're asking him to set strong edges. They're asking him to stay disciplined to his fit. And I think that's reducing that role down to that. Devin Bush is doing well in that. So um, really just a combination of that second and third level just being disciplined with their eyes is how you combat that. And I think the Browns have the personnel to do that. You can always just get caught up at the goal line, though. Like you can always get caught up over aggressive at the goal line. So we'll see how it plays out. But I do think that this is a good matchup on paper.
I do too. I kind of want to just generally ask you, what do you think this Browns team has in favor of them potentially winning this week? But what concerns you potentially when you look at the Steelers team and say that could definitely bite the Browns this week and cause a loss?
Yeah. So in favor of the Browns is Aaron Rodgers is in his 40s. Like I don't know if he's not as mobile as he once was. If you can collapse him, like you have the potential to create a lot of negatives in terms of sacks. But again, he combats that by just getting the ball out so fast. So I think man, it's tough. In favor of the Browns is a really tough one. I guess I would point to the Browns secondary versus the Pittsburgh skill players. Outside of DK Metcalf, I'm not sure there's a wide receiver, especially if Calvin Austin is out. That really scares me. Even Pat Fryermuth, I don't know if he overly terrifies me in the passing attack in this matchup. So like, I think that would be the advantage. But I think that also means that the Browns have to create a turnover at some point, which they've gotten better at over the past few weeks, especially the Green Bay game. The defense really bailed them out in that game. But yeah, I think creating a defensive turnover because they do have the secondary talent there. That's about it. Like, there's nothing offensively that makes me feel good about this matchup from Cleveland's perspective. So it feels like another game where like the Browns are just going to have really good field position. Like that's the reality of the situation here. And then you hope that you can score 14 points offensively, which they haven't scored over 17 in damn near a year. So it's not looking pretty on that regard. For the Steelers, again, if you get out early in this game, like you don't have to get off your script and you have to force the Browns to score points. So if you can even get out 7-0 early on, that really that really puts the Browns back up against the wall. Yeah, I think that's all I got there.
It's a tough one for me because everything for me, the Steelers should take care of business this week, but I also know they've lost to Dorian Thompson Robinson and Jameis Winston in an absolute snowstorm. Granted,
Yeah.
both those games happened in Cleveland, so we'll see. That's been their house of horrors. At home, they've actually done pretty well against Cleveland, so we'll see where that goes. But I want to shift real quick, Corey, just before I let you go. 2026 quarterback class. I know you've watched this all. It is a very different class from what people were prognosticating preseason. The names Drew Aller, Garrett Nussmeier, Kate Klubnik, Arch Manning, all have fallen
Hmm.
aside. Now the wave is Fernando Mendoza. He was on him, by the way, talking up Fernando Mendoza. Lenore Sellers has still kind of maintained his positioning, and Dante Moore has kind
Hmm.
of come out of nowhere. There's Ty Simpson, and then there's
Hmm.
some other guys. Nussmeier then comes in there. Carson Beck, I guess, is getting some hype as well. But where do you kind of come in on this class right now, and where do you see these top names kind of ratcheting out right now? Is it a good class in general for you?
I've got a hot take. I'm not really willing to put out there yet about this quarterback class, but I do like this quarterback class substantially more than last year's class. I really like those top four names. I was a Fernando Mendoza quarterback one truther coming into the season. That's very well documented on the Daft on Draft podcast, on my Substack, Daft on Draft Football, on my Twitter. Like, look anywhere. It just like look for Fernando Mendoza, and you'll find an article or something by me, or a film cut up by me somewhere. So like I love Fernando Mendoza. Um, he's got an arm. He's decisive. He plays really well under pressure. In the face of pressure, like there's a lot to love there. What I will say is that Indiana asks him to just rip a lot of RPOs, and that kind of bothers me a little bit. But like he's staring down the barrel and just throwing some absolute bullets. And that goes back to his Cal tape too. You can find some unbelievable throws on his Cal tape that led me to put him as my quarterback one coming into the summer. Dante Moore, I would say, is right there neck and neck in my mind in that battle for quarterback one. I don't think there's anybody in the country who's played better football than Dante Moore this season at the quarterback position. Just everything is so clean, so crisp, so precise, so articulate. Like he understands what he's seeing. The ball's coming out fast. The ball like is coming out lethally accurate. And then the second half of that Penn State game, I really felt like he put that offense on his back and marched them down the field for most of that second half of that game. So there's so much to love about Dante Moore, and like I think from a maturity perspective too, I find it like very admirable from an intangibles perspective for him to say I started 5-6 games at UCLA and it went horribly. I'm not ready to be out there yet, and so he went to Oregon and sat behind the most experienced college quarterback in college football history, who's played the most games in college football history, and really learned, took it back, and then came back out this year, and it looks like that worked wonders for him. So I really love that, and I think that's a quarterback that, from an NFL perspective, an NFL team's perspective, of like we can give this guy a playbook, and we can trust him that he's gonna do exactly what we ask of him. So definitely neck and neck right there with Mendoza for me. Sellers is there too. The tools obviously otherworldly. There's still a bit about Sellers' process that scares me a little bit. I still don't think he's seeing the football particularly as well as I would like him, or seeing the field as particularly as well as I would like him to. I will say, I would compare it to like a stairwell, right? A stair step. Like I he's taking a step every week though, and that's what you want to see for a guy who's 20. He's 20 years old, so like I can see it with his process. Like he is finding backside posts, backside digs better. He is standing in structure and getting the football out on time much better. Again, he's learned from Dowell Loggins and now Mike Shula as his offensive coordinators, two guys who have been longtime offensive coordinators in the NFL, have been his offensive coordinators at the college level as well. So you can see that incremental progress with Sellers. He's still doing some stuff where he is spinning out of pressures, trying to create and taking sacks for 12 yards, stuff like that. I really don't want to see, but and then Ty Simpson. You could put him in that same conversation with Dante Moore of running some of the tightest shipped operations in college football right now. Everything is clean. Everything's coming out on time. Everything is accurate. I think Ty Simpson's ceiling as an athlete is probably similar to Mendoza's, but lower than Sellers. And Moore's not a spectacular athlete, but he's a good athlete. So it's definitely those four. And then after that, I would probably start talking about like Josh Hoover, then Nuss, and maybe like John Mateer. But John Mateer's process still terrifies me as well, like way more than Sellers.
Yeah, it seems like a much more talented class, and
Mm-hmm.
I think for Steelers fans, since they're probably going to be picking in the back half of the first, I think you're probably talking Simpson, Nuss, that tier more likely than the other guys, but we'll see. They might trade up, so who knows? But Cory, thanks for coming on, man. Tell them where they can follow you, read your stuff, and watch your work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Daft on Draft is my draft site that I launched last October full time. We made it all the way through, and the growth has been awesome. I went to a paid model in this past summer, and I've really enjoyed it. Doing a lot of video content because again, Substack can't DMCA you the way that YouTube can for posting all 22 and stuff like that. So putting out like 2 pieces of video content a week. Um, 2 other written contents a week, 4 episodes of the Daft on Draft podcast a week with James Foster, No Flags Film on Twitter. So Daft on Draft is really what where the bulk of my energy is right now, and the bulk of my creative passion is right now. So YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Daft on Draft Football is the headquartered Substack there as well.
Make sure to go check him out. He does great draft work. I'm telling you guys, you will find gems. You will find more about this quarterback class from Cory than you will anywhere else. And certainly, I haven't really watched these guys in depth yet, so it's great to kind of get a perspective from Cory, and he's covering that weekly. So make sure to check it out. He charts these quarterbacks in depth weekly too. So if you want stats, he has great stuff. Folks, as you know, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on notification bell on this channel. Make sure to follow me at Farabaugh FB on Twitter and check out the Steelers stuff, PennLive.com/Steelers. And thanks for watching, everybody.